Hey, it is Leon the Lover. I am in a group called DeMarzo EMC, and Mr. DeMarzo gave us a challenge to create a 16-bar loop with just some basic samples. So here's the samples that I got. Play them one at a time for you. And here is my 16-bar loop. All right, so let me give you a quick walkthrough on how I generated some of these sounds. I started with that basic chord hit. Let me stop everything else I got going on. Start with the chord hit, but filtered it into a dub stab, so some echo and filter on there, random moving filter. And then I kind of left that playing while I was playing with other sounds just to make sure they fit with that basic melodic pattern. So what I was doing a lot is using simpler in slice mode or in either classic or one-shot mode to just chop up the samples, and using Sting to drive it because it's such a simple sequencer to just build basic melodic or rhythmic patterns. This is the tom in there. Already sounds great, but what I would do is capture things that I like and put a frequency shifter on it. Of course, I was also slicing up the drum part to make a backbeat there too. What I wanted to do is have a foreground drum part, which was a little bit more EQ'd properly, and then just have kind of a rough backbeat. So that's why I used it's highly compressed and used a reverb there. Give it a little style. So we get into the interesting stuff here. So I was using the frequency shifter a lot. Technique from Mr. Sidney Charles that I saw in one of the videos. And the other magic component that I was having a lot of fun with was this pitch envelope. So let me just show a couple of these with the frequency shifter. Really changes the character of the sound. This second one is pitched up so high, and it's using the looping here that it kind of establishes its own tone. So that's why it sounds so froggy. It took me a while to discover this pitch envelope again, but that's how I got this amazing sort of record scratch sound out of the original one. Let me put this on 0 and play this. That's just a pitched up version of this thud, believe it or not, but really played with the, again, looping of this envelope here to give it a little of its own pitch. And then I got into this pitch envelope, which gives it that amazing record scratch sound. yeah, recorded my favorites coming out of the frequency and pitch shifter. Kind of the same pattern over and over again, different sounds. So then the next technique is driving the echo with an alternating or a changing delay time. Kind of makes a nice effect, an interesting effect. I think I saw this in the Tillman video. So good for downshifters and just little robot effects. So let's listen to some of the best ones that came out of the process so far. Okay, so next one is using bass as a carrier for a vocoder. I use this a lot with a pad as the carrier, throwing a rhythmic sound through it to create like a pumping synth sound, a rhythmic synth sound. But what I wanted to try was with the bass. I think I saw this in a Luke Van Dyke video. So here are some basses that I recorded, starting with the synth bass here. Just simply put that in a simpler and recorded some different bass patterns. Oops, got to turn it on. And then I've got our original sounds in a drum rack here, going through a vocoder, and the vocoder, the carrier, is that bass sound again. So if I turn this off, we'll hear the vocoded version of that. Yeah, and I'm just sending all the original sounds through it. Let's turn the dry wet down. Because you never quite know what's going to sound good with it. But this just gives us some weirder, more differently articulated bass lines. So again, recorded some of those. Some nice, deep, tech-sounding, techy sounds. So that's the bass through the vocoder, or vocoded bass. Here's a simple pad, usual stuff, just looping up that melodic stab and throwing it through some big reverbs. But what I wanted to do with that is make sure I had something that would sound nice filtered. Nothing crazy. And then this low guitar, or this guitar, is just created from the bass note here. Sounds like a electric bass, but pitched up sounds like a guitar. and lots of filter going on, of course. So those were the tricks. Okay, now let me show you how I took those resampled source material and turned it into a bit of a more structured track. Tried to make those sounds sound good together and turn it, create some melodic ideas. So have a group here for my lows as usual, compressed together. The kick is the original kick that he gave us, just EQ'd a little bit. I don't love it, but I'll probably swap this out when I turn this into a real track, but for now it was fine. Certainly didn't want to embark on making my own kick. I tried the tuned down conga as sort of a bass hit. This doesn't sound great in some of my headphones, but I'll leave it in for now. And then the bass pattern is just it's just the bass he gave us, with a bit of filter on top to keep it moving and interesting. The clap is the original clap. I've just got two of them in there at different pitches to fill up the spectrum. Closed hat was grabbed straight out of there as well, just shortened it up, saturated it. Open hat I had to make myself out of one of the closed hats. I just looped a small section of it here, added some noise, some chorus, saturation, EQ. Snare is straight out of his sample, so nothing too exciting yet. More redux and erosion to make it stand out. Here's where we start using the tom sound as a melodic texture. And then I had a whole other beat built just for the purpose of using it underneath the main beat. You can hear there's another hi-hat in there, which kind of keeps the shuffle. I don't know. It could actually be a lot shorter. I do a lot now on my master channel. I've got this CLANX and I've mapped the key to it. Turn this down a little bit. This just basically lets you listen to it in this sort of pseudo studio setting. I'll shut up for a second so you can hear that. I like using that a lot to try and figure out if my sounds are staccato enough, because it adds a little reverb that makes me always want to make things more staccato. Okay, so where were we? Now finally at the main stab, which you would have heard a lot in this sound design part. The second variation on that is just different filter. Contrast and a little break. Got a little pad behind it. And then when we come around, we're going to get some actual lead sounds playing off each other. I'd love to have another melody there. Oh yeah, you can't even hear it. You can make that come out of the mix better. And yeah, of course, that record scratch that I loved, and then I add a couple more in the break. you go. I'm calling it Numero Uno because it's the first time I've made a track like this.